And now I can actually see the finish line, and there's like 2 people in front of me. And I was like, okay. And I know I'm cooking. I'm like, there's a chance here, you know? And I pass one more person, and right at the finish line.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
Well, it dawned on me this morning, and I wrote you a note, and you were thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, we're missing the same opportunity that we did when we talked about Minecon in 2016. We got to get Tango in here. And you were like, he's sick.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty sick.
He's got the con flu.
He's got the
from TwitchCon.
From TwitchCon, which is the irony here.
Obviously.
Yeah. So I'm going to feel grateful that I'm not sick. You're not sick.
I don't know how. I think most people know Tango. We all 3 of us live in Arizona, so we drove to Las Vegas together in the car, there and back, and 6 hours in the car ride back, and we're fine. But Tango's not.
I know. I feel bad. I feel for him, and I feel for him. And Tango, I also miss you too, man. I wish you were here with us. It was crazy. Like I was getting ready, and it was literally like, are we going to make the same mistake again?
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
I talked to Tango yesterday, and he did not sound good at all. So
it would have been terrible notice, and it would have been, and he's very sick. So
I don't want that con crud, that con flu. I'm like feeling blessed that I escaped somehow without getting it. Although I didn't escape unscathed. I lost my voice during the entire thing. We'll get to exactly how that happened. So today. We want to reminisce a little bit. Just I'm like thinking it's more for our sake at this point, because you know how like you go through life and you have all these events in your life, and if you don't somehow capture them on video or camera or something like a podcast, we're getting old. Our memories suck, and next thing you know, like we forgot the event ever even happened with TwitchCon in Vegas. I don't want that to happen. I want to talk about what went down and our experiences, and give some insight, a little behind the scenes.
And have some fun. This is the ultimate photo. It's the ultimate photo album. And because what an amazing time it was. And it started, let's just go through it like chronologically.
Real quick, because on the podcast, I don't always just assume everybody knows us from the streaming world and the YouTube world and everything like that. Like maybe people just listen to the podcast and that's it. TwitchCon, so Twitch, first off, is a live streaming service, not to be confused with something like Netflix. It's a streaming service. This is a service where we can broadcast ourselves live as we play video games, as we do just chatting, as we do whatever.
And we do that a lot.
And we have people just tune in on this website, and they're able to watch us, and they're able to chat back to us, and it's kind of a big thing. And so the company that has this website for live streaming is named Twitch. And they do a convention every year. I think maybe even 2. They did like one. They did one in Paris not too long ago.
So you're saying 2 conventions a year?
I think so. Okay, yeah, because the Paris one was not that long ago. Right. And then they just had one in Vegas this last weekend, which was nice because Vegas is just like a 5.5-hour drive for us. Yep. So we decided, me, you, and Tango, that we're just going to drive up together. And then there was some hermits coming as well, and some other friends of ours, and we got a chance to meet a ton of people in person at the convention. And let's get to it. So let's start off. I think the convention actually kicked off Friday morning.
Yep.
So we decided to leave Thursday to give ourselves a chance to get there, get our badges, so we can kind of hit the ground running, which I actually needed to do because I had MCC Twitch Rivals straight away Friday morning.
Yep.
So we left Thursday. Just I drove, which is unlike me. I'm not in love with driving, but I thought I could handle it.
Well, and Tango said, he's like, next time we do one of these, I'll drive. Because Skizz drove at the first one at Minecon, and then you drove.
Yeah, we're rotating, and I kind of knew it was my turn in a way. So I was like, I'm cool with driving it. But I had my stipulation. I was like, when we get to Vegas, can we just leave the car in the parking garage and just Uber the rest of the weekend? Yeah.
And we didn't. I think we Ubered almost not at all because of the monorail.
Vegas has got a really cool monorail that actually took us straight from our hotel. A few stops later, convention center. So it wasn't bad. We ended up staying at MGM Grand, which is more like south on the strip, and the convention center is kind of north-ish to the strip, but the monorail connected to it. So we had easy travel.
It was awesome.
Straight away. But yeah, we got after it straight away Thursday morning. I think it was like 9 a.m. I picked you up, and then we headed on over to Tango's place and picked him up and Tango had to get himself a little coffee on the way.
Yeah. Yeah. We had our own home brewed coffee, and he was just like,
he's like, you guys
skip. He's the most like, here's
he's
the
nice.
thing about Tango is that he's like one of the most considerate people in the world. He's like, guys, you guys already have your coffee. We don't have to. I'm like, dude, we're getting you. We've got 5 hours ahead of us. We're getting you your coffee, man. And then here's the funniest part. So he got an iced coffee. And we're driving, he gets his coffee and we're driving for hours and hours and hours. And he's in the back seat and we're all talking and having these good conversations as we do. And Tango takes his coffee and he's down to just the ice, and we're sitting there talking and he just reaches in between our heads. He does that all. Yeah. Oh, you got to pee? He's like, yeah. It's so funny, dude.
And it was one of those things where like right when he told us, we were just passing like the one place that we could stop.
Yeah.
And it was like just missed it. Yeah. And it was like, oh, I hope you're good because it looks like we got another 45 minutes before.
Yeah. But okay, so we get there and you had your own room. Tango and I actually got our own room together. We were all three of us were going to do it, but then you ended up getting
it was one of those things where it was like so Tango he's a bit of a gambler, right? So he's got like rewards program at MGM, and so he was able to get like a room for really cheap, almost comped all the way. But it was a 2 queen beds. And one of us would have had to get like a cot situation or something like that. Plus I had MCC and I was like, I don't really want to get there and like not sleep well because I'm sharing a room with 3 dudes or two dudes and I have to sleep on a cot or whatever. So I was like, you know what, I'll just get my own room. And luckily through TwitchCon, actually there was discounts and stuff. So it was not bad at all. So I got my own room. I was able to, well, it was a bit of a waste actually. I had 2 queen beds in my room. Yeah. I could have literally like this bed this night, this bed that night. But anyway, so yeah, you guys shared a room together. I had my own room. Mine was weird. My room was really weird. First of all, you guys, like when we got there, you knew right where to go. There was like this main elevator and it was like up to the 21st floor. Yeah. And it was really obvious that that's where like everyone was going to get to their rooms. Mine was like some secret janitor door thing that was like very hidden, like next to like tucked in next to Starbucks. Yeah. And like I had to use my key code just to open the big old doors. And I walk back there and there's literally no one in the hallways or nothing. There's no one around. I thought I was like in trouble. Like I'm not supposed to be back there.
It was odd.
And I was only on like the 3rd floor. So, discount tickets, I guess that's what you get. Anyway, so I get up to the room and I'm like, all right, let's see this view. And I open the window and it's literally just a brick wall, like right in front of me. This is like the loading dock of the hotel where all the deliveries are done, which kind of sucked at 4 a.m, to be honest, when they get their deliveries. I was like, oh man. But it worked out fine. When you're in Vegas, you barely spend any time in the hotel room. So.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was, after you made the decision to get your own room, I was like, maybe I'll get my own room. And then it was too late. All the rooms were gone anyways. And then I was like, well, this will be fine. Tango and I get along very well and we're going to bond. Turns out I'm actually thrilled that I didn't get my own room because Tango and I got to a whole new level of friendship. Like it was a kind of a blessing.
Once you smell each other's farts,
no,
that's
that
the
didn't
thing.
happen. That was actually that we were both like overly respectful to the point where I was just like we got to break that friendship barrier, man. But no, we had and then we, like you said, it's on the 21st floor, and I opened it up, and it was a beautiful view, and I was like, this is like, I'm happy. And did we gamble that night? I feel like we did some sort of gambling that night.
No, I don't. I think we were pretty chill. I was really worried about getting sleep for MCC.
Okay, talk about what MCC is.
Yeah, so Minecraft Championships. It's an event that Scott Major put together with folks from Nox Crew, which are like developers and stuff. They have an event where it's competition. It's mini games like Minecraft mini games. There's PvP. There's parkour. There's just movement skills like racing and elytra skills, stuff like that. So MCC is typically done. We're all like in our own houses and just streaming on Twitch for this. But they were able to get together with Twitch Rivals, which is like a competitive like esports thing that's part of Twitch. And so they were able to actually like do the event in person, meaning like we were up on stage. This is teams of 4, so 10 teams of 4. There's 40 of us total, and we were up on stage competing live in front of like a studio audience. So anyone that came to TwitchCon can come in and sit in like these bleachers and watch us. And so I was invited to come to that. We had special like jerseys made to wear.
Very professionally done.
So our team was the Aqua Axolotls. And it was me and Good Times with Scar, who's been on the podcast before, and Gemini Tay, and then our friend H-Bomb as well, who's like known to collect hermits. Like he's just been, his goal in MCC is to be on a team with every hermit that ever does MCC. Yeah. And I was like his last collection, if you will. So he got a chance to collect me, and it was really cool. Like once we got to the event, they had us like do a walkout, and so it was like broadcasts, you know, all of us like walking out, and it was like WWE, you know, like when the wrestler walks out to the music and the lights and the smoke and everything. Yeah. It was super cool.
I took video of you guys walking out kind of from a distance, and so before we had left, Scott Major reached out to myself and to Tango. He said, "Are you guys coming to watch MCC?" We're like, "Yeah, we're watching." Like Impulse is in it, and Cub Fan was in it. We'll talk about, he had his own team. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to put you guys on VIP." We're like, "That's cool." So he did, and which means, like you said, it was bleacher standing, and then out on the floor, really closer to you guys, was like a rows of seats, and he put us, I think, in the second row. And so Tango and I got an escort back, like, you know, probably about 40 minutes before the event was about to kick off. And we got an escort to our seats, and it was kind of interesting because they had our real names on the seats themselves.
Ooh.
And Tango's like, she's like, you know, snatches his
no
up.
way.
I snatched mine up, and I'm like, well, that was the other thing, is that when we went, I'm like, yo, you know, we're VIP, and the guy's checking the list, and he's like, I don't see you on the list, and we're going by Skizzelman and Tango, and he's like, what's your real names? And so I tell him, he's like, yeah, there you are, and I'm like, I don't remember giving my real name. You know what I mean? In the process of like submitting, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to get over the top here, but I don't remember doing that.
I'm sure you did. You must have.
I had to. It's not like I guessed, right? Yeah. And so anyway, so he takes us to our seats, and here's the thing: the seats were great. They were great, but there was one problem. Of all the teams, how many teams were there? If you remember,
10 teams.
10 teams. 10 teams. There was one team we couldn't see because of the camera rig, and it was you. It was your team, and quite literally, it was. So I was just like, really. You know what I mean? I was like, there's no way they could have known this. And Tango was like, this is bothering me. Like, he wanted to watch you. He wanted to watch Gem and Scar. He wanted to watch you guys. And
it would have been hard, though, because there was still like those big monitors in front of our face.
There was. That's a very good point. Like, honestly, to the point to where we really couldn't see anybody. Yeah. Because you guys were behind those monitors. But I still wanted to kind of see, you know, your
I'm not
booth.
sure what they could do different. Like, you wouldn't want to like turn us around and see the backs of our heads, you know, either.
Right.
Like, you almost need some sort of like side angle.
There's no way to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, the bottom line is there's no way. The only way to do it would be to have somehow
invisible
have the
monitors.
Audience is higher than you guys.
Yeah,
like you know those like operating rooms where you look down on it. Like
man, we need like the Minority Report glass monitors so you can see.
Yeah, okay, that's the like, number one reason.
There you go,
or way to do it. So anyway, so this was what I found interesting. Is that we're getting pumped now. You guys aren't out yet. It's just the blank monitors. You guys came out for a second to like configure, and then you left. And we're waiting there, and Tango and I are just like, what are we going to do? I want to be able to see. And we look over, and Scar's brother is also VIP because he's with Scar the whole time, and he's up on the front row, and there's a couple empty seats next to him. So we're talking, and as we're talking, a couple girls come up to me and Tango, and they're like on the other side of the seats that are in front of us, and like, Tango and Skizz, can we get your autograph and get pictures? Like, of course, like it's really a neat moment. So we do that, and then we're talking, and somebody else comes up, and it's, you know, we do our thing. And then we're like, let's go talk to Scar's brother and see if these seats are taken. Because if they're not, we might just go sit there. So we stand up, we walk over there. That was a huge mistake. and neither one of us saw this coming. We went over there, and we were asking him, like, do you know who's sitting here? Because there's no names. He's like, I think it's staff. We're like, oh, that actually makes sense, right? So we're sitting there, and then somebody comes up and like, Skizz, can I get an autograph and a picture? I'm like, yeah, of course. And so we do that, and I always love doing that. I love meeting, you know, fans. And then I look, and there's somebody standing behind them, and so like, okay, and I do that, and then I look up, and there is a line that goes all the way back to the bleachers. I'm all, okay, and it's there, and it's for, and they want to meet me and Tango, and I'm like, we messed up, dude. And he's like, what are we supposed to do? Like it was one of those things where I was like, if I worked here, I'd have been like, hey, can you yahoos move? You know what I mean? Because it was like, but neither one of us saw that coming. It was like extremely flattering. And as much as I convinced myself that everybody was there just for Tango, and every single person knew both of us, wanted both, you know, pictures and everything with both of us, which was just such an honor. And it was such a big deal. And I remember it was interesting because they sort of knew that MC was about to start. And so the line was coming down. The line, like, I got the last person as the lights like came down and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that worked out. So we booked back to our seats. And there's like a guy in our seats, you know.
Oh.
I come over and I didn't, and you got to keep in mind we took our names off.
Yeah.
We come over and I'm not a mean guy. I just like walked over and I just like looked at him and he looks at me and he just moves over, you know. And he's like, and I'm like, and that wasn't his seat either. And I'm like, he's like, can I sit here? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, if they come back, you're probably gonna want to move. But other than that, enjoy yourself. He's like, okay. And they never showed up. So he was able to enjoy the show.
Scored a VIP seat.
Yeah, it was good. But they announced you, or they're announcing the teams, and they announce you, and you guys come out, and I took a video of it, and I hope I had the frame of mind to put it up on the screen right now as you come out. And I was just, oh, bro, the pride was just...
It was amazing.
I was feeling
I had like goosebumps and stuff. Yeah. It was funny, though, because like H-Bomb and I actually experienced a little bit of that walkout before it actually happened. So... the whole like setup thing was very, very hectic. Like, so we were held like in this like kind of back room area. And it was nice. They had like, you know, drinks and stuff so that we could get ready. But they kind of held us back there. But at the same time, they're like, we got to get you out there to get you set up with stream keys and stuff. So we had to put our stream key. It's like our special key that connects us to our actual live stream on our channels on Twitch. And it's kind of a big thing. Like, the stream key is like, if you think of the most complex password in the world, that's what it is.
It's your fingerprint.
It's like a digital fingerprint. Yeah. And so I had to, I took like a screenshot of my stream key before I left, knowing that I was going to need it. And so we get there and they rush us in. They're like, you guys have 15 minutes and then you need to go live. And I'm like just sitting down at this computer that I've never sat at my entire life. There's a stream deck with buttons that I have no idea what they do. There's a headset I'm not used to mixed into a mixer that I'm not used to. And immediately I put it on. I'm like, I can't hear my voice. And I like hearing my voice. I like having the monitor, you know, and they're like, oh, these, we can't do it or whatever. You can't hear your voice. And I was like, oh, that's a problem for me. And then another guy came out who actually knew what he was like, knew how the thing worked and actually got it working. But the whole thing was like very stressful. So I go to like put in my stream key and I'm like looking at my phone and then typing one letter, checking one letter, checking one letter. And I finally get done. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? You know, you want me to go live? I'm going to go live. I'm not even going to be at my computer. That's weird. And they're like, no, just press this button. It'll go to the main broadcast. So there was like a main channel broadcast with like hosts and everything. Like it was very professional.
Yes.
And they're just like, just show the main broadcast while you're gone. And I was like, okay. And I hit go live and it failed.
Oh no.
And I was like, and then so I like already stressed about the event itself, like competing in an event. But now I'm stressed about like actually just being able to go live on time. And so I'm looking again.
I had no idea that you had to.
Oh, dude, it was stressful. I'm looking again. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, that's either an I or an L. We've all been in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Where the font, you can't really tell. And so I was like, I'm just going to swap it out. So I swap it out. Boom, it goes live. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Right? So now I've taken care of me. And I look to the left and there's Scar struggling the same thing. Scar struggling the same thing. And with Scar, he's got a little bit of dyslexia, as we know, right? Like, so Scar is like looking at his stream key and he's looking at the screen and he's like, it's a blur, dude. Like, I can't tell if this is right. Can you help me? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I take his phone and I do the same thing, letter by letter check. And I was able to spot where his was wrong and we were able to get him live. And then I look to the right and H-Bomb's having the same problem.
Whoa.
Can't get his stream key to work. And H-Bomb's like, I really got to go to the bathroom. Right? He's like, I can't deal with this right now. Like, he couldn't put his stream key in because I think his eyes were watering because he had to go to the bathroom so bad. And I was like, well, whatever. Maybe we take care of that. You know, I was like, I could go myself because it's a 3-hour event. I don't want to have to go in the middle of it, you know, so let's just go. Let's just go take care of that. A little restroom break, and we'll figure this out when we get back. So we had to get an escort, one of the Twitch staff people, to like walk us back. But as they did, they're walking us through the crowd, right? So as H-Bomb and I are walking through the crowd, like the crowd's going wild, like nuts to see me and H-Bomb.
Nice.
And I was like, that's when I first got my goosebumps. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. This is a huge stadium full of people, like not stadium, but you know what I mean? Like bleachers.
It was a big place.
It was
man.
huge.
Yeah.
And they're just like cheering for us. And I look at H-Bomb, I'm like, little do they know, they're cheering for us to go take a piss. Like they're cheering us on to go to the bathroom.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah. Good. Enjoy your bathroom break, you know. And so we get out of the bathroom and they're just like, guys, stay here. We got to walk you in. Like that was the intro thing that you alluded to. And so H is like, I'm still not live. He's like, I'm still not streaming. And at that point, Jem had been brought back too. And she's like, I'm not streaming either. Hers didn't work either. We all struggled to get it in, to the point that where when we walked out to like go be part of the competition, they weren't even live.
Wow.
And so they were like freaking out. Luckily, I guess Twitch staff, they have some sort of like secret master keys, you know, because we sat down after they announced us and we walked out, and Jem and H were both live. They figured it out like for us while we were gone. So they were good to go.
Wow, they should have probably just
done
defaulted
that
to that.
in the beginning. Yeah, it was a weird thing. It was like in the program that goes live, it'll ask you, do you just want to sign in with your Twitch account or do you want to put a stream key in? And they did not want us to use our sign in, which would have been way easier. But anyway,
interesting.
So yeah, so we got signed in, and then next thing you know, the event's like off to the races. Like we sat down and it felt like 10 seconds later, it was like 3, 2, 1, and then the event starts, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting. So I thought about bringing my keyboard and mouse, and that way I'd be like a little more familiar with the rig. At least I'd have my familiar keyboard and mouse anyway, and all the buttons and hotkeys that I'm used to. And we kind of decided that we wanted to just go for fun. We wanted our team to be built for fun and not for like competitiveness.
Right.
And so, you know, we wanted H to collect his final hermit and all that kind of stuff and be fun. Like we just knew we'd have good vibes. So I decided not to bring. Actually, I think it was you. You were like, "Are you bringing your keyboard and mouse?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "But I thought you weren't going to try hard, right?" You said that to me, and I was like, "You're right. Why am I bringing my keyboard and mouse?" And so I left it. Well, that was actually a mistake because it was so foreign. The keyboard and mouse was so foreign, and me not having like my hotkeys like I'm used to, I struggled the entire time. It was terrible. Like the mouse sensitivity was all wrong. I have extra keys usually on my mouse that I use to do certain things like that are very helpful in some of the parkouring and things like that. I didn't have that. And so like I was hitting the wrong buttons. I'm like trying to race people and I'm like switching my POV to like the camera that's in front of me while I'm trying to race forward. And it was just screwing me up so bad. But I mean, it was fine. Like we were there for fun.
You guys still seem like you had a fun time.
Oh, we definitely did.
Yeah. And you guys like you actually had a pretty decent showing early on.
Yeah.
And I was like, they thought they were going to be getting crushed.
Yeah.
And I was like, but they're holding their own.
Yeah.
Right
We were like
now.
in 6th or 7th place after a couple events and we were looking at each other like, I don't know how this is happening. And MCC is one of those things too, like as the events go on, each event is worth more.
Yeah.
So like there's coins that get collected. It's kind of like your team score. Well, they start to have multipliers as it goes on. So like events 1 and 2, no multiplier. And then suddenly it starts to go up and then the multiplier of like 3 on the last one.
Yeah.
So if your good games are in the beginning, then you're kind of screwed. You want your good games to be at the end when you have the multiplier.
Yeah.
And the order was like absolutely like the worst for us because our good events happened first and we were in like 6th and 7th place. And I did have one. I got to take a moment to brag. You want to set it up?
Can I?
Yeah,
I'll set it up.
I'll set it up. I want to hear what it's like from an
Terra
audience.
Swoop is the name?
Yeah, so there is an event called To Get to the Other Side. Basically, the idea of the event is it's a race. It's a race across a map of some sort.
Yeah.
Right, where you're either racing across terrain and you got to like place blocks to climb, or like you're above a void and you can punch people off. Like people punch each other, which is rude, but they do it. And then there was one which a lytra base, which is like flying with wings.
And it is
like it's like a hang glider basically.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing kind of angles downward, and it's a map that was taken from a game called Terra Swoop Force that they actually include in the event.
Yeah, and I know that you work on these, and you and I did MCCI, like which is just like a little fun version
Training
of
ground
this.
for MCC, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like I did the Terra Swoop one, and I did okay. I finished it. I didn't crash or whatever, so I did arguably okay.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of my time, it was like you would have been like almost dead last. You know, like I did okay, but it was just like not a quick time. Well, you guys going the way was working in regards to what Tango and I could see was that really we were watching the big monitor up high mainly the whole time, because whoever's POV that they went to onto that monitor, you could see the chat in regards to who was finishing, who wasn't. Mm-hmm. So we're looking for your name and Jem's name and Scar's name and Cub's name. We're looking for all these as so-and-so finished or so-and-so died or whatever. And it's going on, and it's about halfway through, and typically around halfway through any of the competitions is when we would start to see your guys' names appear. And it's going on and on. I don't remember the exact places, but it was like going on and on. Now it's like there's 40 people, and it was like it's somewhere around like 32 or 33. Like we saw Jem's name, and then 34 we saw Scar's name, and now we're waiting for your name. And I'm like, this isn't right. And we're watching, and Tango's all, oh, he must have crashed. He did not do well. And I said, no, this means he did really well. And he's like, you think so? And it goes 38, 39, 40, and you weren't named. And then they replayed who actually won, and you see you got. Now I'm giving it away. So, I'm so sorry. I just liked it so much. You tell your version of it. I'm so sorry. I got carried away there because I like that moment.
Yeah. So I did finish early on. It's crazy because when you're first like diving off this platform to start your hang glide basically down this tunnel, there's bodies everywhere. There's 40 of us. You can't see. Yeah, there's 40 of us. So you're literally blind for like the first couple seconds. And so I had to kind of go off of muscle memory just to get through that first part, knowing that at that point I could probably get some separation and be able to see, and then I'd be okay. So yeah, luckily it's something I practiced. I did like maybe 3 practice runs the day before we left for TwitchCon, knowing that event was going to come up. And so during those 3 practice runs, my main thought was, how do I separate myself in the beginning so that I don't have that blindness from all the bodies and crash? Because that's what most people do.
Yeah.
And so I figured that out. I'm like, okay, just remember this, like close my eyes, kind of muscle memory. And then once I'm past that, I can be able to see the rest of the course and then I can have a chance. I did that. However, it cost me because when I separated, you're now not taking the most direct route. Right. So I separated to the right and that got my visibility back. But at that point I was like in 10th place. I was like, okay, no big deal. I'll try to catch up with speed. And so hang gliding, you think about it, you point down, you're going to get speed. So I pointed down and I basically tried to stay as low to the bottom of the map as possible, which is very risky because if your toes touch, you explode and you have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So I was like, no risk it, no biscuit. We're here for fun. Whatever. Let's just go for it. So I angled down best I could and was like barely scraping the bottom without actually blowing up. Next thing you know, I'm passing people one by one, passing people. And now I can actually see the finish line and there's like 2 people in front of me. And I was like, okay. And I know I'm cooking. I'm like, there's a chance here, And I pass one more person and right at the finish line, like almost like the last person in front of me landed, must have been a millisecond or 2 before me.
Yes.
And it was like, it was super close to the point to where you actually could see when they showed the winner's point of view. I was in the winner's point of view camera because I was literally with them.
Yes. And the landing was like this.
Yeah.
Like it was that. And I was like,
so I took second place and I'll take it, man.
Yeah.
I'll take it because that was super fun. Unfortunately, at that point, I was so excited about it. A couple things happened. One, I screamed really loud, right? I strained my voice, which is still recovering to this day. I'm not quite 100%. And 2, I about broke H-Bomb's hand because I did a fist bump so hard that it hurt him. Like I was so just adrenaline was pumping and he reached over to give me a fist bump and I was like, yeah. And I hit him and he's like, ooh. So I almost broke my teammate's hand in the middle of the event because I was so excited about it. But yeah, it was super fun. I was glad. I mean, we were kind of expecting our team to, not H-Bomb's kind of like, he's a stud. He's always going to place pretty high. And I think he did. I think he was like top at least 14, 12, somewhere in there. I can't remember what he got.
Of that event or overall?
Overall, of the whole event. And then we were pretty sure that like me, Gem, and Scar would be like the bottom 3, which didn't happen. It was pretty close. I think I was 35 or 36, and Gem was right behind me. And then Scar was like 1 or 2 other. Or no, Gem actually was like 39th. But anyway, we were all right there at the end. And there was like a couple people in between us, but we didn't care. We absolutely didn't care because we knew why we were there. It was a crazy experience to be live in front of people and we were vibing and just having a good time, like to the point to where there was a final event and we knew we were out of it at that point. There's a final event and it's like a PvP thing, which is player versus player. It's a fighting thing. Teams start on like opposite corners of this map and you have to kind of bridge your way to the center.
So funny.
And basically it's kind of like Hunger Games, right? Where the map kind of like shrinks and forces you in to fight. And so what we decided to do, instead of like waiting for the map to force us in.
Well, wait, hold on. Let me think. What's going to make this funnier? Let me set it up again.
Okay.
Because it actually so from Tango, from the audience's perspective, it's a different experience than what it is from yours.
Yeah.
And because like the wheels sort of started to fall off a little bit, like halfway through, and all those other, you have to keep in mind, you're playing against people who are like really good.
Yeah, they're Minecraft speedrunners and like they're professional.
Yeah.
Like they're
some big
esports.
Names too.
Like
Captain Sparkles was there, Tubbo was there, George Not Found was there. There was a lot of really big names, and it was just cool to see. Like, so Cub Fan and his crew was competitive the entire way through. We'll see how that finishes out. It's great. But anyways, my point being that the Aqua Axolotls was not being mentioned. Your POVs weren't being shown. They weren't talking about you guys.
Even though we were the most fun team to watch.
The most fun team to watch.
We weren't the most competitive, so it wasn't worth
being mentioned. In
From
fact,
Twitch Rivals, because it is esports focused, they're more focused on the points and the winners,
100%,
right?
Yeah. But the only time you were mentioned actually was when they did expect you guys to make a strong showing in grid runners, and it just it's just sometimes things go south, right? And that's, you have to be at peace with it. But we're watching, and they're not mentioning you guys, but now we're doing the event that you're talking about. Now you have to keep in mind, when you play this game, the way it works is when you die, or while you're playing, or when you die, your teammates light up like they got shot with a Spectra arrow or whatever that arrow is called. They light up differently than everybody else, so you can easily identify your team. Well, the viewpoint of the admin, if you will, is that everybody's, like they can pick
see
a team.
Through, you can see through walls to see where players are at.
Through walls and see their silhouettes, right? Okay. Well, you guys haven't been mentioned. We don't know where you guys. Everybody's fighting to the death. And what's going on? Where is Aqua Axolotls, dude? And you see 4 silhouettes in the center of the map in this little hut, like the bullseye where everybody's headed. Just like, we're gonna lose. Let's just wait here. You know what I mean? So now you tell because the whole audience was like cracking up, dude. So tell it from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, so you actually get to play the round like 3 times or so, 3 or 4 times. And the first round, we played it legit. Like, we played it normal.
Right.
Like, we bridged and we tried to collect stuff, and we immediately just got taken out. Like, to the point to where, like, I think we have sharks smelling blood in the water.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, they know our team is weaker and they're like free points, you know? And so we're getting targeted. And we're like, forget that. Next one, let's just race to the middle, barricade ourselves in, because there is merit in lasting as long as you can in that event. Like, if other teams go out first, then you get more points. And
let them fight amongst themselves.
Let them fight each other, and then we'll take whatever scraps we can get at the end if we can. And so what we did was we forgot about like stopping and gathering supplies. We literally just ran to the very center of the map, which is like this like isolated island in the very center. We dug into it a few blocks and then replaced those blocks above our head, and we crouched. And if you crouch, then other teams can't see your name tags or anything, so you can like hide, if you will. And so we would crouch in there, and we would set it up with like cobwebs and stuff, so if somebody did dig in, they would fall in the cobweb and they'd kind of like be stuck there while we just slayed them. So we were trying to figure out how to like get some kills at least. But for the most part, we got there so fast, nobody even knew we were there. So we were just ducking in the corners, holding shift for like 5 minutes straight while everyone's dying around us. We hear it. We hear TNT exploding and people dying and all sorts of stuff. And we're just crouched in this corner, just looking at each other like, so how's it going?
See, and that's what you don't know is that, so from our perspective, because since they're always switching the POV, they switch to this POV is big old fight, dropping TNT, jumping, flying over here, madness, switch to this POV, madness, switch to like one of your POVs. You guys like, so how are you? Like, you guys are just like in this little
There's
room
4 of us
down.
like in this very tight spot, 1 block away from each other.
It was like a 5x5 room or something, dude. You guys are just, and every time they would switch to one of your POVs, audience would just lose it, cracking up.
Yeah, it was great. It's one of those things. It's like, obviously we weren't competitive, but we found a way to get a good laugh out of it. And that's what it was about.
A way to get a memory out of it.
Yeah, we wanted to have good vibes, because I've done it before, and I think I talked about it on the podcast where I got overly competitive in this stuff, and to the point to where I was like boring to watch. I forgot that a part of this job is to be entertaining. You know what I mean? Like you can rely on being good and skillful, and that's entertaining to people that want to see that. They want to see somebody be very skilled at something, and then you can be very entertaining by being charismatic and funny and goofy and that kind of stuff. And I typically try to find the middle point. I don't like to suck at anything. We know that. And I know I'm not. I don't have it in me to get like S tier is what they call it, like the top 10 people. That's like all they do every day from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to sleep is try to get good. And that's never going to be me. I just don't have the time. I got too much going on and I'm juggling too many things. So I try to find that middle point. And this was another example of like me dropping that competitive baggage, and it was nice because it was in person, and then we just got a vibe as a team. And I think most people that watched MCC, if they had been skipping around streams, would agree that we were probably the most fun team to watch. I would, not to blow our own heads up, but I feel like that's probably the way it went down.
You had to win at something, did you?
I had to win at something. Yeah, we were the most fun team to watch. I just looking around, like I didn't see as many teams just like giggling and having a good time,
Yeah.
And I'm sure all the teams did.
A lot of them did. They were, but you guys had a different.
We made a special effort to just really make sure that we soaked it in. We soaked in the experience. We weren't going to be brought down by losing at dodgeball, or whatever, like we just wanted to have a good time.
No, that's perfect. And I mean, every once in a while you have that prodigy or that where they're both. They're S tier and they're entertaining. Yeah. The only person I can really think of is Thor. Remember Thor in Realm Royale?
Oh,
he
yeah.
was like the best one of the best in the world.
Thor BG, I think was his name.
Super entertaining at the same time. Like he was just like
that dude was cool.
Yeah, he was awesome. But all right, so you guys, you get through it, and now we're watching. I hate to use this phrase, but we wrote you guys off early in regards to, are you going to get to the finals, as you guys wrote yourselves.
Don't blame you.
Yeah, and that was pretty normal for a lot of them, but it started to dwindle down, and it was pretty evident that Cubs team was going to be very, very competitive and have a really good chance. But like you said, since the multipliers increase, the game can flip on its head at the last.
That's the best part about it. That's why they do the multipliers, is so that you, like, early on, it's like, oh, this team no longer has a chance. With the multipliers, there's a good chance, as long as
not a good chance, but there's a chance.
Yeah. There's a chance you can just you can pop off.
You can pop off,
as the kids say.
If you execute flawlessly, you're still in this thing.
Yeah.
And it came, if I'm not mistaken, I don't fully remember the story, but it was like the Purple Pandas and some other group. The Purple Pandas are the one that got into the finals against Cubs team. Yeah.
Yeah, because purple was on purple.
Yeah, I think
he was sitting next to me.
I don't remember how many tokens did your team have at the end.
Oof. 2.
No, no, for tokens dictate
the coins. Coins. I don't know. We were. There was 9th place,
2,
and then we were 1,000 coins below 9th place,
and I think
which was a lot.
I feel like you guys had like 8,900 coins or whatever.
I don't know.
First place was like 15,000 whatever. Second place and third place, it was a difference of 10 coins.
Yeah, so there's some drama. There was some drama to get into the final 2 teams gets into they call it dodgeball. It's basically dodgeball, but you're shooting arrows at each other.
Yeah.
And
one shot kill.
As long as you get into the final 2, you have a chance to win. And that happened. So that team that came in 3rd place must have been a little bit livid to only
the commentator
miss it by 10 points. 10 points.
That's another thing I want to say. The people running, like doing the main commentator, and then there was this guy and there was this girl, and they would have like guests come on a little bit. I just think they were fantastic. Mm-hmm. They were so professional. They were so rehearsed and or so polished. I mean to say. And it was before everything started like filming. I remember watching him and like watching him go over some things. And I was like, this dude is taking this job very seriously. I really like that.
Yeah.
They did a great job. And so when
it was Curryway and Kara were the 2 announcers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when that score popped up and the audience was like, because it was 10 coins. He's like, whoa. And he's like, guys, you don't know what that's like 1 more second of staying alive. That's 1 more kill. That's that in regards to the entire thing. That's like the 10 coins is nothing.
Yeah.
It was basically a tie. You know what I mean? But it was just like, that is crazy. Yeah. So then Cub fan, what was Cubs team's name? I'm blowing it.
So they were the Yellow Yaks.
Okay, Yellow Yaks, yeah.
They're initially, my team was supposed to be the Yellow Yaks, which I was super excited about because it's on brand.
Yeah.
But they had already arranged the seating on stage by color. There was a certain color order they wanted to have it in. And because the Yellow Yaks were actually up a few like stairs, rows up on stage, it wasn't accessible for Scar because he's in a wheelchair. So instead, they just swapped us to be Aqua Axolotls. Well, the funny thing is, the people making the jerseys already printed our Yellow Yaks jerseys with our names on it.
Yeah.
And they did the same with the Aqua Axolotls, which is Cubs' team was supposed to be initially. So both teams ended up with both sets of jerseys.
That's awesome.
Which was awesome. So I got an extra free jersey out of it, and I got a yellow jersey, which is on brand for me, so I can actually just wear it whenever. So we'll talk about how that came into play after you finish the story on what happened with Cubs team.
So they go into that final one, which, like you said, is very like, it's called Dodgebolt, and it's very like Dodgeball-esque, one shot, one kill.
Yeah.
And so it's not like arrows are flying all over the place. It's
There's
very
two
methodical.
arrows in play at all times. Yeah.
2 arrows in play. So when one team has both arrows, the other team is just jumping, just trying to avoid. And it's, I've watched enough of this game specifically Dodgeball to realize it's not as easy as people would think. No. It's not. You need to be, not just your aim needs to be good, but your anticipation in regard leading needs to be good, but also your understanding of the person you're aiming at and picking up on their patterns needs to be on point.
And then if you're the person trying to dodge, you have to try to not have a pattern.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly. So there's a lot of psychology in it, and it's a lot of fun to watch. I remember watching, I believe it was your first MCC, and I believe it was Blushy was the last one left, and she got the kill shot to get you guys to win. It's very exciting stuff to where every time they shoot and they hit, it's a huge thing. When they miss, it's a huge thing, right? Because it's like, oh, that just shifted power.
Yep.
And that was my first introduction, and we're going to get more into him. My first introduction that Cub is good at everything.
Cub was amazing.
He's good at everything.
He was on fire. So we were excited to see that the yellow yaks made it in.
Yeah.
And so H-Bomb, myself, and Scar, we had our yellow jerseys with us, actually. Jem had left hers in like a lounge, but we had our yellow jerseys with us. So as soon as Scar's team or Cubs team made it in, all 3 of us put on our yellow jerseys. Yeah. And so there was 7 yellow yaks on stage at the same time. Awesome. And so we were just cheering them on, kind of acted like we were on the same team with them. Yeah. And H-Bomb wanted to go crash their photo so bad. He was like, I probably shouldn't. They'll get mad at me. But it was so funny because we just popped on the yellow jerseys in support. And in game, you can go like grab foam fingers and stuff and stand on the side, and they can see that you're supporting them.
Yep.
Super cool. I wish they had sold those foam fingers, or at least maybe even giving them out, would have been super cool of MCC to do. Just have those ready for the crowd.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Oh man.
If they walked by once it was announced he was in Dodgebolt, and they're like, "Do you want purple or do you want a yellow foam finger?" And the whole crowd's holding up foam fingers IRL. That would have been sick. Nuts. Scott, if you're listening, you got to do that next time. We got to do another Twitch Rivals MCC, and that's got to happen.
Yeah, that was cool. So, and I mean, they did it.
Yeah,
they won.
It was like they crushed them.
They crushed
like
them.
It was 3-0, I think, wasn't
ridiculous.
It was
Cub couldn't miss.
Cub could not miss. He was absolutely on fire.
I think he was like eating a sandwich with one hand and shooting the arrow with the other hand. Like he was amazing. And
they pull it off. Yeah. They pull it off. So here's the other weird thing that you may have not noticed, but there was a delay on what you guys could see in the arena. Like what you saw on screen was actually delayed, like a normal Twitch delay. So like we are sitting at our computers watching it live in real time. We knew they won at least 5 seconds before the crowd did. So like we're like looking at each other like, do we stand up? Do we cheer? Like that's going to give it away. The crowd doesn't know this yet. And we're like looking up at the board, and then we see like Cubs team stand up and high-fiving each other, and you guys didn't even know it happened yet. And then all of a sudden they show it on screen and the crowd cheers. It was very interesting.
I must have been really into the
moment. Otherwise you would have seen Cubs team like stand up and cheer and been like, wait, what? And then looked at, wow. It was kind of interesting.
So they won and they were crowned, and they actually got the crown.
They actually had like IRL real crowns, which is amazing.
And then you guys had to stick around, and I think you had like an hour and a half to 2 hours of signing.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be an hour and a half. Is like, here's what they told us. And they said, it was optional. We could sign up for this basically. But if you want to stick around after MCC event is over, we got an hour and a half. We can set up a desk and we'll get a line of all the people that attended in person. And then they can go through the line and get your autographs. And so we all signed up. And they're like, okay, here's the thing. We only have an hour and a half, and it's a hard stop. Like, we got to kick you out at exactly 4:30, I think was the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember after the event was over, I look at my watch and it was like 3:30, and we hadn't even sat down yet. And I was like, we're already down to an hour. If that's the case, if they literally got to kick us out of this room, we only have an hour to sign autographs. And so we sit down. I was like, okay, so be it, I guess. And I see the line, and I was like, okay, that line's doable in an hour as long as they keep them moving, which is the Twitch staff did. They were great. I felt bad for some of the people because they like really wanted to have a chance to get to know us a little bit, talk to us, tell us what they love about our content and stuff like that, which we love hearing. But unfortunately, they got to keep the line moving. And so they did that. They were really respectable about it. So the line that was there at the beginning, it starts to dwindle down. And I was like, okay, actually, wow, we might do this. It's getting towards the time that they said that we were going to get cut off. Next thing I know, I see people coming out of the bleachers. I just thought they were sitting there waiting for the next show or something. No, they were sitting in the bleachers waiting their turn to get in the line. So all of a sudden that line that like shrunk almost all the way down was like, whoop, right back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know how we're going to get through all these people before this cutoff time. Next thing I know, cutoff time passes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess they changed their mind about kicking everybody out. I was like, okay, that's fine. Cool. Everybody gets an autograph. So another line dwindles all the way down. They release more people from the bleachers. Whoop, right back up.
Just in waves.
Right back up. And now we're like 2 hours at least into the meet and greet, the signing and all sorts of, things going on. And another, again, I'm like, my voice is like hating it because I just did 3 hours of the event where I was screaming and talking the whole time. And now talking to everybody that came through the line, of course, and not like I'm a mute and just going to sign and move on,
Right.
Hi, how you doing? And all that kind of stuff. And so that line dwindles down and now it's like 2.5 hours in and whoop, line gets again. It's like the fourth time the line went all the way down and then all the way back. And I was like, holy cow. There was like literally thousands of people waiting 3 hours after the event was over to get autographs from us. They were literally just sitting there. Like they just spent 6 hours of their time at TwitchCon to watch our MCC and then get autographs from us.
That's incredible.
And I was just like, I don't care if it's the first person or the last person, I will not drop my energy level because that person that waited 6 hours doesn't deserve a lesser version of myself.
They almost deserve more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I really did everything I could to stay like up, like positive and just be like there, be in the moment and give them my all. But that was it. That took it all. They took
all
it.
your energy.
It took it all because it was that night that I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. The voice is hating it. It's getting a little raspy. I could feel a little bit of like almost like tear in the vocal cords almost, And I was like, yikes, this is going to be a rough weekend because there was still a lot ahead of us. I mean, this was just Friday.
Yeah, that was just the first day.
Like, we're 45 minutes into this podcast and we just got through Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
That was a big day, though.
It was a big day.
Yeah.
It was absolutely a big day, but we were wiped, and that wasn't the end of the day actually, because now it's like 6 o'clock at night, and we're hungry. We hadn't had lunch.
Yeah.
Like Jem literally had one banana to eat the entire day, and so this is over now. We got through all that MCC stuff, and we're like we're famished. We got to go eat, and we were all just exhausted, and we're just like let's just go get dinner somewhere. And luckily, we had found a spot at MGM Grand the night before, like a cool little sports bar type place.
Yeah, tap sports bar.
Yeah, and we're like, out of all the places we dipped into, it was like kind of the quietest. I mean, there's literally nowhere in a Vegas hotel casino that is quiet.
You can't have a conversation. It's always yelling, and it's a snowball effect because you're yelling because other people are yelling, so you have to yell. And since you're yelling, they yell louder.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're at. You can't have a conversation.
Yeah.
So like you said, that place was the only place that we could have a proper conversation. And so when you guys were signing, Tango and I went back to our hotel room to drop some stuff off because a lot of nice people we had met who had given us some stuff. Dude, that's another thing that we're going to talk about is you understand this podcast has nothing to do with Twitch. Doesn't touch Twitch. And the amount of people that wanted to talk about how much they appreciate this podcast was so
amazing.
humbling. It felt so amazing to the point to where one girl had handed me, she took our logo and kind of redrew it in a very clever fashion. And I'm so upset with myself because I had all these props at home I was going to bring over. I didn't bring anything. I'm an idiot. Yeah. But I'm going to make sure I take pictures and do all that. But it was like so clever what she had done here. And so like that was really, really amazingly humbling. So Tango and I took all that stuff back to the room to drop it off. And then Tango promptly fell asleep like instantly. Like we were all pretty
took a nap.
Yeah. Like, well, we weren't going to plan. We weren't planning on going back right away. He's going to be signing for a while. And I didn't mention this, but him and I did a lot of con walk-in before MCC even started. So we had kind of seen not all of the con, and I truth be told, I wish I had seen more, but that's on me. we went back to the room and we were tired. He fell asleep. He's like, I said, do you want me to let you take a nap? He said, no, if I fall asleep, wake me up. And then he fell asleep and I'm like, I'm not going to wake him up.
Yeah.
Like he fell asleep so fast, which also is kind of a superpower of his, but he fell asleep so fast that I was like, his body needs this. So I'm going to give him like 20 minutes and then I'll wake him up or whatever. And sure enough, then we started talking about it. Do we go back all the way to the con? We're like, we're going to go there just to say, okay, let's go back to the hotel now. So even though the monorail was easy, it wasn't terribly easy because the walk from the convention center to the monorail station, it was a clip. It was a clip, right? But it did connect to the MGM, which was nice. But we were like, if we go do that, this is what's going to happen. So we ended up, we just decided, let's go ahead and go. So we met up with Mr. Joker, who was also there in the MGM, met up with him. And then all three of us went to the convention just in time to collect you guys and go back to the MGM.
Yeah, no, you guys showed up and I was like, wait, you went back to MGM and then came back? Why?
Well, here's where this was information I didn't quite have. I actually didn't pay attention to when the convention closed for the day. If you asked me what time I thought it closed, I think I would have been about 5 hours off. It closed about 5 hours earlier than I would have thought it was going to.
Yeah, I would have said like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, thank you. So I would have said like 10, right? But I think it closed at like 5 or 6 or something.
So when you came back, it was like closed?
It was done. And like we were able to go in and everything, but like we got off the monorail, we're walking up to, and you and I are texting and I'm like, listen, I'm going to be, we're about a couple minutes out or whatever. And then somebody was just like, yeah, so I mean, the convention's closed. I'm all, what? And I was like, if I knew that, I would have just said outright, I'm not going back.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I was like, it's okay. So then we met up with you and Jem and Cub. And I remember I went up to Cub and I'm like, Mr. Champion, he's like, thank you. He's a very good dude. And so then we went out to dinner to the place we're talking about, and it was delightful. It was just, I sat with Jem and I got to learn a lot about her, and I do that a lot. I like to find out about people.
Yeah, that was cool. Like we kind of like when we got to dinner, we almost had this understanding that at this point I had spent a lot of time with Cub and Jem and I don't think Scar joined us for dinner. He couldn't join us. He was so spent after all that, which we were too, but I mean, with Scar, it's draining.
Well,
really
we're also
draining.
glossing over, not even glossing. There was a big event that's worth talking about. If it wasn't public knowledge, I wouldn't be inclined to. But something to talk about with Scar is you most people know that he's in a wheelchair. We actually had him on the podcast. We learned why he's in that wheelchair. There's a reason I put Scar on the pedestal that I put him on, is because I don't know how it's possible for anybody to have this really positive, very inspiring disposition that seems to be eternal. I don't get it. I don't get it. He makes me feel overwhelming shame when I feel frustrated about anything, which is, I need to have the freedom to feel, but this is the truth. Well, Scar had an incident because
getting off the plane.
Travel's no joke for him, and had an incident where there was a mishap in the transfer from the airplane seat to his actual wheelchair, and he got a concussion. Yeah. So he was in the hospital the night before MCC.
Yeah. Yeah. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to compete or not. Like I was telling Tango, I was like, dude, you might want to be ready mentally at least. I know you won't be ready like skill wise, because Tango's never done an MCC. He wouldn't have known what rocket spleef rush was at all. Yeah. I was like, you might want to be prepared just in case they have to tag you in, because we don't know if Scar is going to be okay enough to be there. And luckily, he was checked in and attended to, and he was okay.
It wasn't as serious as it could have been. And so we were all breathed a huge sigh of relief.
And we found out Friday night, I think late, that
because I think he did. Okay. He went home Friday night, or he went. He
got back to the hotel.
He was. What do they call when you leave a hospital? He was ejected.
What do they call it? Checked out.
I'm not moving on until we get it. Discharged. He was discharged, right? Yeah. And that's probably wrong too. But he got out, and so then we were all able to breathe a sigh of relief. So, like you said, he wasn't able to join us for dinner at Tap Sports Bar, but we all got to kind of hang out and get to know each other, and I think that was. Then we did go gambling that night.
Yeah, well, we had the MCC party first too.
That's right. My mistake. We had the MCC party. That's right. Yeah. I can't believe. Yeah, that's right. Because I have a bone to pick with Scott Major, by the way,
about the MCC party.
About him, and we're gonna.
Okay. All right. We'll go there. So there was like a private party. Like they rented out this bar, I guess. And where were we? What hotel was that one?
I don't remember.
We had to take an Uber to that one.
Yeah, we did Uber to that.
But it started late. It was like 10 p.m. and it was supposed to go till 2 a.m. And I was like, all of us knew all of us knew there was no way, because we just had an exhausting day, that we were going to be able to go 4 hours at this party. But we walk in, and it's a typical like party, you know. They got the bar, they got the DJ going, and it's not really my scene anymore, you know. Especially like, one, I knew my voice was already hating it, and I was tired, and just the loud music. And if anything, I was there to like get to know everybody a little bit better, right? Because it was a rare chance to like meet all these people in person that I've been playing MCC with now for the past almost year. I don't know how long I've been doing it now. So I was like, oh man, I get a chance to like meet Fruitberries and Illumina and all these people that were there, and the people I've played with on my teams before, you know. I wanted to get to know them in person, but then the music was just so loud. I'm just like, forget it. I'm just gonna go sit at this table and just have a drink and just unwind.
Yeah.
You know what
that's what we did. We all went to the corner, and I was happy. I was so comfortable, and
Scar came,
and he came, and that was
he made it.
So happy. Yeah. So he hung out with us, and I like to people watch, and so the fact that we were in the corner, it was just so much fun.
Perfect view of the whole place.
Oh yeah, and it was beautiful, and we just we had a good time, and I got to meet Scott Major, who I like him, and who you can't not like Scott.
Oh, dude, when I walked in to check in for MCC that day in that little back room staging area, Scott was at the desk with his back turned to me, and I didn't know it was him until I like stood next to him, and then he heard my voice and kind of like turned around and was like, Impulse, and you give pretty good hugs.
Oh, that's you're stomping on my story.
You give pretty good hugs.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think Scott's got you beat, bro.
That's the bone I have to pick with him.
That was one of the best hugs I've ever had.
Like, let's keep in mind, I had no idea. You understand, he's like as tall as I am.
Yeah.
And I'm a tall guy. That was like one of the most common things. You're like way taller than I thought you'd be. He is my height.
Yeah.
And I did not see that coming. My thing is hugs, dude. This is the bone I have to pick with you, homie. I hope you're watching. I gave him a hug, and just to tell him thank you for everything. And then when I got there and when I left, because I knew the other thing was when I was leaving, I was like, this goes through your head. There's a very good chance I'm never going to see you again. We have to be okay with that. That is what it is. And hopefully I'm wrong, but there's a very good chance I'm never going to see you again. So I gave him a hug, and he gave me a hug, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. I was like, this is the best hug I've ever had. I was like, is this what it's like to hug me? You know what I mean? I'm like, this is amazing. I could fall asleep right now.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is okay. And
that's so funny. I had no idea you were going there.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, yeah, I know you crushed it. I'm so glad
that's vindication.
Yes,
it's true.
It's exactly good. You're exactly correct. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I'm the hug guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He just
I was like, maybe
crown,
if I just
bro.
snap his neck, I could, you know what I mean? It's like I could take first place again.
Jeez.
But no, he was such a wonderful guy and so accommodating, and not to mention he was the epicenter of the party. Everybody wanted a piece of Scott.
Yeah.
And he was very polite about the fact that he wanted, no one person was he spending a lot of time with, because he wanted to be accommodating to everybody coming to his party. And he was it was great to meet him. But like you said, we called it and we left. And I think, did we go? No.
So this is where things got weird.
Well, this podcast is, we already know it's going to be running very, very long. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut right here. And we got so many more stories to tell. So there'll be a part two.
Yeah. We're getting into detail on the events. It's so great reliving everything. But yeah, we're going to make you guys wait an extra week to hear about how the rest of the weekend goes, which there's a ton of extra other fun stuff that happens.
There is.
So make sure you come back next week.
Yeah, sorry,
you're not going to want to miss it. Not sorry.
No.
All right.
See you next week. All right, that's good.
I ended with a wink. That was weird.